talking to your parents about getting pierced. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 65, so stick around. For those who are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you at a level of expertise. As someone who has been in the industry for a long period of time, has pierced a lot of minors, and have helped people through that process and parents through the process. So what we're going to talk about today is a common question that I get on the channel, and I also get it in real life in my interaction with clients at the studio and on the phone and email and etc. And that's minors getting pierced. I already did an episode back last week on parents talking to their children about piercing. If you're a parent and you came across this, I would suggest checking out that video also, just basically because it's going to give you more of a understanding from a parental standpoint. If you're a child and you're trying to look to get pierced, one thing I do want to point out is I in no way, shape, or form advocate getting pierced under the age of 18 or whatever part of the world or whatever it is in your part of the world that you're considered an adult without parental consent. I also don't suggest that you, when mom and dad say no, that you take it upon yourself to have either one of your friends or you pierce yourself or other people. That is dangerous. It's a bad idea, and it's probably going to lead to not the result that you want. Regardless of how many videos you've seen of people doing this, they never ever show you what happens a couple months later when it's infected or there's some other problem. Now, as far as laws, that varies greatly from location to location, state, country, etc. In the United States, you, as a minor, cannot sign a legal document. You cannot be a signature on a contract or enter into a contract, which means if you find some piercer that's hip and cool and will do you underage because you're over 16 and they think that's okay, you, in essence, are getting pierced by somebody that doesn't value their own art or their business enough to clearly make sure that they're not open to some type of lawsuit. If something goes wrong during the piercing, if something goes wrong afterwards, or if the parents are just flat out unhappy about it, they are open to liable, a lawsuit basically, that could cause the destruction of their business. If they're willing to take that chance, what else are they willing to chance? To me, it's an ethical question. I want the parents involved if they're under 18, mainly because that is the right thing to do as a professional. All right, with that all out of the way, let's move on to some steps to convincing your parents to possibly let you get a piercing. The biggest thing is you need to educate your parents on body piercing. Chances are they have limited or no exposure to piercing, and probably what exposure they have is not really generally the most positive exposure. I highly suggest, and I suggest if it's a parent watching, I suggest you have your child do this too, is that you sit down and write out a research paper on the piercing you're getting done and the piercer that you've chosen. This paper should cover simple facts like the risks of the piercing, what it's going to take to heal it, and how long it's going to take to heal it, and what that commitment means. The long-term effects of getting a piercing, meaning how is it going to affect employment? How is it going to affect your school activities? How is it going to affect your social interactions? Is there going to be scar tissue afterwards, even if you remove the jewelry? And how will that affect employment and all of that? The cost of the piercing. This kind of is a no-brainer. You should probably research what the standard cost is for the particular piercing, because chances are, if you're under 18, you may not have a job. You may have a job. You may be paying for it yourself, but 10 to 1, your parents are going to end up paying for this. So research what is a comparable price and what's a reasonable price. Include pros and cons of getting this particular piercing. I suggest 5 of each. If there's more in the cons or more in the pros, then add them. Do 7 pros, 3 cons, or if it's the opposite. Just basically because that shows rational thinking and decision skills. This is the positives. This is the negatives. This is why, it's going to help balance things out, and it makes it clear that you have thought this through, that it isn't just a whim. The last one is, what is your motivation behind getting this piercing? I would include at least a paragraph that explains that this isn't just something you kind of came up with in the middle of the night while you were searching YouTube videos and you thought it looked kind of cute and this is something you want. Kind of go into the overall, this is what I like about it, this is what my motivation is for it. And it can be something as simple as, I think it looks cool, but kind of explain why you think this is important at this particular part of your life. Then I would suggest researching piercers in your area. Ask around, do some online research, include visits if you can. If you have friends that are going to get piercings done with their parents, ask if you can go along. With this current COVID-19 thing, probably not going to be the case, even if we do get open. Things are going to be kind of limited for a while. But and ask around. If you see somebody at at the store that has a bunch of ear piercings, ask them who did it. Then do some online research. Most reputable piercers are going to have at least a bio online and kind of research what their overall philosophy is with piercing, experience level, and etc. I've done a number of videos, and I'm probably going to come up with a new one here soon because the old one's kind of a little dated about choosing the piercer, so look for that in the future. Last thing I'm going to talk about before we move on today is understanding your parents' concerns and motivations against the possibility of you getting pierced. The first one, for me at least personally as a piercer, is maturity. And maturity is not something that you can just say you're mature or promise to be mature. It means that you have taken responsibility for things and you follow through. This means you can't promise, you have to do. Show your parents you're responsible. Show them that you're going to show up on time. Show them that you can keep a job. Show them that you can operate a car and check the oil and put gas in it. And all those things that we want you to do as you grow up so that you become a better adult. The next thing would be discussing some of the long-term effects of the piercing, such as scarring and etc. I've already kind of covered this before, but you need to talk to them and let them know that you understand what those long-term effects are going to be, that it may affect employment, that it might affect how you interact socially, it might affect how people perceive you. Because regardless of what parents will say, a little bit of one of the main reasons people don't want their kids to get pierced is they don't want to be the one that's the parent of the weirdo. As silly and stupid as that is, it's the truth. They are concerned about how other people are going to perceive them through you because they look at you as a reflection of themselves. And because you're living in their house and living by their rules, the more radical and crazy you look, the more they feel like it reflects on them as not being good parents. I know it's silly, but that's part of the problem or part of the issue. This kind of ducks back to responsibility and maturity, but show them that you can take care of the piercing. Do your chores. Feed your animals, take care of your puppies, all that kind of stuff will lead to your parents being more open to the idea that you're gonna take care of this piercing, and it's not gonna be something where you take care of it for a couple of days and then it seems fine to you and you stop taking care of it, and they have to deal with you having an infection or other problem that is costly to resolve and is going to require medical attention. Overcoming, the next one would be overcoming their prejudice towards piercing. I've kind of brushed on this and brushed off of it, but let's talk about that and understanding why they have that. You have to understand that until probably the last 5-10 years, everybody that you saw on the TV, in the news, in movies, etc., that had piercings and tattoos that were visible tended to be criminals, drug addicts, outcasts, bikers, losers, punk rockers, metalheads, and general weirdos. They have never really been exposed to just normal people that have piercings. Now, this may not draw in as much with certain areas of the body, but with other areas of the body, they're going to be a little bit more concerned. The other thing is that they're going to, this attitude that we were raised in as somebody who grew up in the 80s and lived through the 90s, where everything leads as a gateway to something else. Meaning that, to use the drug reference, that if you do marijuana, it's going to lead to heroin. There's like a direct line. That's just how things are. The concept of this idea that if they let you get one piercing done, you're going to come back 6 years later with 38 piercings in your face, a ton of areas of your body that are going to be completely impaled in a full sleeve on both arms. This whole gateway issue is something that you're going to have to overcome and let them explain. Or explain to them. You may want all of that right now, but at this point in time, you just want a couple and slowly build, if not more. I don't know how else to put that. It's just one of those things you're going to have to deal with and overcome. But having that empathy and understanding where they're coming from is the first step to moving past that prejudice. The next thing is that letting them know flat out that you have researched this and you only want to have this pierced if it's done by a professional. And that is the only option that you're willing to submit to. This not only shows that you thought this through, researched this through, and understand what you're getting yourself into, but it does alleviate this fear that you're going to go out somewhere and have it done with your friends in the basement or some other nonsense. Because I'm sorry, that does not show maturity. That does not show responsibility. And that does not really make you look like a good candidate to make decisions on your own. It's dangerous. So commit to that. Say, you know what? I really want this piercing. I want you to be involved with it. I want you to come with me. I want to experience this with you. If you're not willing to do that for me, then I'm going to wait till I'm 18. But understand, I'm getting everything done when I turn 18, and it's my decision. This brings us on to religious beliefs. There is a lot of denominations of Christianity and other religions that believe that the body is a temple and anything you do to it is defiant against God and defaming and etc. Personally, I've never found anything other than one verse in the Old Testament that says you're not supposed to mark yourself. Actually, it says cut first, then mark yourself in times of mourning. It doesn't really talk about anything else. It is in the Old Testament, so unless you're Jewish faith, it really technically doesn't have anything to do with your religion. For the same reason you don't eat kosher, you eat pork, you do mix your meat in your milk and all of that stuff. So, and you eat shellfish probably. it just doesn't make any sense, and it's cherry picking things out of the biblical text to meet your values or understanding or what have you. I'm not going to make any more comments on that other than, as far as I'm concerned, after a lengthy study of the Bible, yes, boys and girls, at one point I was being fashioned and honed as a teenager and young adult to be a minister or an evangelist. Actually, it was preteen. So yeah, I do know a little bit about the King James Version, at least. Studied it pretty extensive for the first 17 or 18 years of my life. So what I'm saying is if that's the case, maybe you need to sit down and talk to whoever's the head of your church or somebody that's an elder in your church, because I can guarantee you there is people in that congregation that are tattooed or pierced in one way, shape, or form, and it is prejudicial and kind of silly when you start to think about the general teachings of the Bible and the acceptance of others. So think about it. And it also kind of comes back to that, what they've been exposed to and what they haven't been exposed to. The last thing I'm going to suggest you do is point out the risk of self-piercing and being pierced unprofessionally. I try to put this in parents' minds whenever they come in and they're trying to get me to talk their kid out of getting pierced, is we know you're motivated. And we know since you're motivated, you will more than likely, if given the opportunity, could find a way to do this on your own. It's important they understand the risk of you doing that. And maybe you should include that in your research paper or what have you. So I hope this helps. I don't know if it does or it doesn't. The truth of the matter is that as a parent, because I do have a grown adult child, son, who I love very much, who doesn't call enough. You know you are. My favorite son and the inheritor of my eclectic DVD collection. As a parent, we generally have a view of who and what our child's going to become. It is usually not the case. Kids rarely become your A plan. They usually become your C, D, E, or F plan. And it's difficult as parents, and this comes back to that whole empathy thing, to let go of this image that we have of you. We love you so much that you are the perfect child, and anything that goes against what we think is the perfect child tends to crack that facade that we have of you. So be patient with us. We're not just jerks. We may have general concerns. And the only way you'll ever find out what those concerns are is if you sit down and actually talk to them as an adult, not just screaming, yelling, and slamming doors. So I hope you found this somewhat helpful. I hope it helps alleviate some ideas, or maybe can move you along the path of getting pierced. And even if your parents say, absolutely not in my house, at least you will have all that knowledge that you gained through the research and etc., that when you hit 18, you can make a good choice and get a great piercing that you can enjoy for the rest of your life. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you like it, because I like it when you like it. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. If you like swag and you're a stylish individual, and who isn't, check out our merch store. We have various different t-shirt designs there, done by the artists of the Skin Kitchen and myself. You can get everything from t-shirts and decals to coffee mugs, throw blankets, tapestries, all kinds of fun stuff. Tote bags, where you can tote things in it. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future, as soon as the virus is gone to its point where they feel it's safe for us to open and all of that stuff. In the meantime, everybody out there, please practice social distancing, limit your travel, limit your interaction with people, and let's get this thing out of our general vicinity as quickly as possible without as many people getting sick. So in other words, be safe, be clean, stay inside, or stay, 6 feet away from each other, and wash your goddamn hands.